August 7th, year 11 at 1:51 a.m. Entry 122, Chapter 12. Let's call this The Fool's Climax. Where to begin? This sounds like a new chapter, a fool's journey. No, wait, it feels like the fool's chapter in some instances. And the moment before the climax of a movie, when all the events start picking up before the protagonist knows exactly what the final twist is. The same time yesterday, Z invited me to this girl's crib in Lincoln on River Road. It was late, bracket, maybe between 12 to 2 a.m., end bracket. I was half asleep, but I felt up for an adventure, and though the night went uneventful, I was happy that I stopped by and got to see him, / walk him to angels. It felt like old times, and I thought it was cute how the darkness still made him nervous, although I can't fully blame him. Today, I visited Z briefly, then left. My intuition told me that my presence made him happy, but my departure did not. Today I visited Johnny T. I brought him some condoms. He sparked me up. My intuition tells me Johnny doesn't wish to leave his house too much, or doesn't want to stay over, but he seems fond of me somewhat, although he tends to run the edge of exaggeration, so I may not be able to read him fully. I am still, bracket, inebriated, end bracket, by the way. Today I went to D&D at Peter's with Ryan D. Ryan got drunk and spent the whole time making gay jokes and insulting me. I'm not sure what did it. Maybe it was my newfound silence or the look on my face, but towards the end he quieted down, seemed apologetic, and seemed to try to make amends. Then he asked me if I would be attending D&D next Saturday. I told him, I'll think about it, then walked away without changing the tone of my voice, looking him in the eye or glancing back. I am angry with Ryan. He disrespected me, and I have reason to be. Whether I should let this be something serious or not remains to be seen. Perhaps I will just avoid hanging out with him for a while. Today, I'm not sure. Perhaps it was just me, but Greg seemed to be acting weird. The thing is, I'm not sure if it's weird good or weird bad. I posted my response to something he said while we were camping on social media, with a link to it in my aim away message, and tagged a bunch of people because I wanted to start a debate on it. We were discussing polyamory on the island, and our discussion ended with him saying, well, if you were to sleep around, then you would not be dating me. And I agreed by saying, if you could not allow me my freedom, then you are correct. I would not be dating you. Or something like that. I may be paraphrasing. This was the social media message. On the nature of polyamory, multiple lovers. P.S. This is directed at no one in specific. I am just in the mood to argue. Then it comes down to experience and maturity. You and I would not end up dating, bracket, despite however much either might want to, end bracket, simply because you could not compromise on this and because my freedom is exceedingly important to me. While experience and maturity, experience because the more one has of it in love and the more secure someone is about their relationship, the less tightly they need to cling emotionally, and maturity, it helps one with being secure. If your lover chose you, then it's because they wanted you. Duh, but forget it. You'll learn this one day. Perhaps you'll come around, or perhaps I'll conform. Unlikely. But simply because this went to sleep mentally unresolved and I woke irritated, I'll leave this segment for the people's consideration. That which most people fool themselves into thinking they want isn't necessarily the best of all options for that person. The majority is hardly right by simple virtue of being the majority. That's why we elect leaders and specialists to make the hard decisions a layperson cannot make because they lack all the pertinent info. I invite anyone to comment on this, as I'm happy to poll opinions, however controversial, and I realise most people might be inclined to disagree with me, although to me this reflects more on them necessarily than myself. But I'm still happy to hear. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will clarify and elucidate my stance if desired. So, how shall we say, riddle me this, Batman. He never showed any indication of reading it, but when I first texted him this morning, he didn't respond until 1:45 p.m. He said, yo, so I go semi-autistic sometimes. Fire pit equals piece of shit, but it would still work, I guess. Better just big one. His next response at 1:52 p.m. You could restore it if the metal bowl isn't rusted. I didn't see it. I was indeed spaced out. I think it's still there. I'll try to look on my way home. His last response, until later on tonight, was 2:01 p.m. Just because I'm semi-autistic, sometimes my brain will queue up stuff, then it just doesn't get processed till a while later, just something I do. In between this time, I sent him 5 texts related to random things, and he responded at 11:41 p.m. Sorry, left phone at home. I'll need to see if it's still there. Sorry, I'm absent-minded and didn't check, and I work all day tomorrow. The main point of note is that, since we started chatting, things have seemed off. First, the delayed response, then he keeps pointing out that he's semi-autistic, forgets things, and briefly explains his behavior, and he apologized a few times. Alone, these aren't anything significant, but collectively, and when taken with how I imagine he could have interpreted my social media post, then I have a few ideas on what he could be thinking. Either he's in shock because Jess broke up with him, or did something else shocking, because he thinks my social media post means that I would date him, and it might have been something he secretly wanted, or that my social media post means I want him, and now he's a little awkward about talking to me. Bracket. It was a debate-related counter to a hypothetical conversation we were having. It also occurs to me that posting it on social media rather than sending it to him directly via text may have been what made him awkward, or he could have genuinely missed it. End bracket. I'm not sure, and without hanging out with him, it's hard to guess or estimate his response, but perhaps I will give him a bit of time and see what comes of it, because, I don't know, his response just seems out of the ordinary, although probably less so if he didn't see the social media post, which is another thing to consider. Either way. Also, today I started a project of cleaning out the garage, so I can do something similar to what Greg did with his, but killing all those spiders, bugs, and cleaning out the thing is proving to be an interesting work requiring a bit of courage and fearlessness on my part. I can do it, however, and find cleaning the garage, or rather employing that amount of courage, to be rewarding. I have recently started nurturing a desire to create, recreate, invent, and modify things in the physical world, as opposed to Super Smash Bros. And miscellaneous video games. And my first attempt, which met with success, was the swing in front of the house, which I repaired and reattached. My next project was going to be a broken shelf that I found across the street from George's house. I was going to carry it back to my house alone, but Ishmael, a good-looking Cape Verdean guy, February 8th Aquarius, offered to help me, and he did. I was surprised and appreciative, and told him that if he needed help, I'd be happy to return the favor. I brought the furniture piece to the side of my house, cleaned it up with water, then figured I needed a workspace for it, so I started cleaning out the garage, and that's where I am now. The wood furniture piece that I brought back is currently sitting in the rain, but the garage is looking neater. Bracket, note to self, don't leave composite board in the rain. End bracket. So yeah, new project with woodwork and garage cleaning. Greg may or may not be acting strangely. Ryan heckled me, and now I'm contemplating whether I wish to end our friendship or just take some time off. And Z may also be back in the picture. No Matthew today, sadly. I hope he feels better, though. I would like to hang out with him soon. Oh, yeah, the last time I saw Matt, I made a show of beating around the bush before I finally asked him why he wouldn't go out with me, hypothetically. He decided to answer later. Bracket. I think this was pertaining a theoretical conversation. A phrase in the negative. I asked him if he would go out with me in ideal circumstances, and he said no. Probably because he felt that I rejected him once, and I asked him to explain why. End bracket. My horoscope for the past day said, Aquarius, you should be a little more reasonable in love and accept good counsels which you'll greatly need. Don't attach too much importance to the small problems of everyday life. In order to avoid various perturbations and annoyances, you must adhere to a clear and definitive behavior line. A friend of yours might give you a good bit of advice concerning your sentimental life, but you may greet it very badly. This friend is nevertheless quite sincere and only has good intentions. Rabbit. In love, even though destiny puts charming persons on your way, you may very well discourage them. Indeed, you'll expect so much from others without making any effort yourself that they'll believe you to be indifferent. Try not to give in to carelessness, muddling, or discouragement. if certain of your undertakings do not meet with success according to your desires. You'll feel misunderstood. This will be all the more painful to you as you'll have the clear impression that others don't at least try to understand you. Another odd thing. There are usually horoscopes for the next day by 1 a.m., but it seems the new ones are not up yet.